Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special live edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. As you can see, we have three windows here on this late night following the first day of the 2023 NFL Draft. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me here in the various panels, Mr. Brian E. Roach. What's up, Brian?
Sleep.
Yeah.
I'm asleep.
Well, we'll go to the young whippersnapper here that he's full of piss and vinegar this late at night. I might be too. I might need I can't drink coffee or I'll be up all night. But Zach, what's going on, man? Did you partake in any adult beverages this evening?
Yeah, coffee would have been a good call. That would have been a really smart move at this point, because I was just thinking, I wish I was as tired as Brian. Now I'm all jacked up from the draft. So I'm hoping being on with you two fellas will help bring me back down to earth. Yeah.
Back down to earth. Let me ask you, how you feeling about tonight, just in general, so far? Feel good about the Steelers and the draft so far?
You asking me or Brian?
You know what? It doesn't matter.
Whoever.
We're winging it here.
I'm excited for sure. I know that the haters wanted you to think that I didn't want to tackle in the first round, but I've been very on board with tackle or corner being the first pick for like the past month, I want to say. So I saw the writing on the wall, and I always maintained that I wanted them to get either Paris Johnson, Darnell Wright, or Broderick Jones. If they were going to take one in the first round, they were able to get Broderick Jones. And also, I thought they wouldn't have to trade up for a tackle, which I was wrong about again. But that's because I didn't think Darnell Wright would go at 10. That's not my fault.
No, yeah. That was a surprise to me too. I didn't think Darnell Wright was going to go that high. I'm very happy that they ended up with Broderick Jones. I'm also thrilled that they didn't have to give up that much to move up to get him. Certainly, I mean, coming away with Broderick Jones and still having 32, 49, and 80, that's a win to me. Especially as we're going to talk about the way the rest of the board has fallen.
Yeah, I was selling myself on, I hope they can maybe package 32 and 17 to move into the top 10. Maybe they can package 49 and get up in there. They didn't even have to go near there. They traded a fourth this year, and I imagine I don't think they're done with that. I really think they're still going to try to accumulate a fifth this year, and maybe more than that, because there's a big gap between their picks in the later rounds.
Even bigger now, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you guys. I think one of the biggest surprises, actually, you want to talk about something out of draft day, and I had it back here. Remember, I was actually going to put Broderick Jones or no one else on the Post-its. I didn't think he was going to be there, but you knew he was one of my favorites. Obviously, Paris Johnson, but geez, I didn't think he was going to be there. I thought maybe Skoronski, his little like T-Rex arms were going to fall down into there, and the way the Titans took him and the way their depth chart already is, I already saw slander. It's like the Yinzers are like, oh, well, I wanted an offensive tackle, but not that one. And it's like, you weren't getting Paris Johnson. That was not going to happen. And the Houston Texans, like, what the hell are they doing? And they pulled the draft pick right there. Wow.
My jaw hit the floor. I said, I wish I could experience the euphoria that Texans fans were experiencing in that 20-minute window. They've been through a lot, so I guess they've earned it in a sense from the football gods. But what an exciting 20 minutes to be a part of. That's just like you have this endless hope that your team's just going to get better, and they get their quarterback and arguably the best defensive player in the draft outside of Jalen Carter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Jalen Carter and where he was going to go as well. That was pretty interesting. But we talked about this. I don't want to jump around all over the place. I'm going to start just at that top of the draft, too, because you got Bryce Young, you got CJ Stroud, and then the Texans come right back. So the Texans basically, they kind of cock block everyone by saying, okay, we're going to take a quarterback. We're taking Stroud here at 2. Okay, Arizona. Your phones are dead. No one's calling you right now. This is what we're going to offer you. And if you're Arizona, you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, they got an extra first-round pick next year out of them for that. I think it's a little rich, but they must have felt really good about Anderson and felt good about trying to get back into this. Anthony Richardson going 4th to the Indianapolis Colts. I felt that was, I don't know, maybe a little surprising just because then Will Levis falls completely out of the first round, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well.
Somebody said that would happen. I don't remember who was that said that would happen.
I would have joined Brian in the pool for this victory lap because I was not sold on Will Levis in the slightest. Coming from someone who lost a lot of money on college football this year, I would often take Kentucky, and they never won me any money. And Will Levis was in there, and I know that he played hurt and this and that, but I was never sold on that kid. And he could prove me wrong for sure, but him falling this far, I guess, to the second round is a little surprising to me, but it's not that surprising to me because I didn't think he was in the same class as the guys who've gone so far.
Yeah.
Will Levi Strauss, forget it. Levi Strauss is out. He's out.
Hendon Hooker might go before him.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be something, but continuing on the draft board here as well. And I'm seeing some of our live chat as well. Go ahead and leave some of those comments in there. Most of them already pretty positive. So this is always a good thing. Devin Witherspoon fought number 5th overall, Seattle Seahawks. I mean, I was like, okay, yes, that's a guy that wasn't, not that I would not be unhappy with most of the players that were taken before the Steelers were on the clock, but there's a certain realistic expectation of who's going to be there. And I think
I was doing that with every pick too, dude. I was like, yes, it's another one. That's another one. Every single pick that came through, I was like, didn't want him. Yeah,
you should see my text messages with my cousin about that. I'm like doing the math and then figuring out like which players are still there, and still doing that here for 32. That's going to be effectively later today now, as we're into the wee hours of the Friday morning for day 2 of the NFL draft. But continuing on, Paris Johnson, 6th overall. So the Cardinals get back in, right back into play. Paris Johnson,
Tyler Murphy is wish.
Tyree Wilson to the Raiders, Bijan Robinson Bijan, I believe I've been saying it wrong. I think it's like mustard. Atlanta Falcons, 8th overall, and they have Tyler Algier or whatever that I was like, whoa, like that one kind of surprised me. Jalen Carter finally to the Eagles at 9, who, the Bears moved around on that pick enough. They did move.
We just called the Eagles the Georgia Bulldogs now. Is that what we can just do?
Pretty much. But I mean, how many people have, seriously, besides Georgia's put how many players into pros? How many first rounders did they have last year? That was like a dozen. Like half.
They're doing
half
that
the
thing
round.
that like guys sit around their couch saying like, oh, if I ran an NFL team, I would just draft the best college team, like from roster up to down. And they're doing that in real life with the Georgia Bulldogs. People used to say it about Alabama, and now it's Georgia.
Yeah, Ohio State puts a lot of them out there too. Clemson, of course, when they're in the mix for a college national title. Darnell Wright. So that was your first surprise. You said at 10, real surprise other than the trades. And yes, that's a good point. We're getting there about Gonzalez because I texted Zach at one point and I said, uh-oh, he's coming. He's coming. I remember I said on one of these shows, I was targeting 12. I was like, do the Lions want to move back again? And nobody wants this pick. It was Cleveland via Houston and Arizona. And so Darnell Wright, 10th, Peter Skoronski, 11th to the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is where it gets interesting because you have 3 tackles off the board according to their labeled position, right?
Yeah.
And I already saw some of that jazz about, like I was saying, every year we want an offensive tackle. No, not that one. Oh, you took the 4th best tackle. How many times did we say Darnell Wright is going to be a right tackle,
100%.
Rest in peace to Tevin Jenkins, who was penciled in that slot previous.
Yeah, that shocks me about the kickback about Broderick Jones, because I definitely thought that if they were going to take a tackle that people would be like upset about in any way, it would be Darnell Wright because of the right tackle thing, or Skoronski because of his uncertainty of where he's going to play. A lot of people think he'll play guard. So I thought Broderick Jones was a pretty safe bet to make everybody happy, but that's my own fault for thinking that Steeler fans and Yinzers everywhere would be content with the pick. But I mean, I think it's out of the park. And you're talking to a guy who I was hoping so bad for Christian Gonzalez. I was on my hands and knees. If you could have taken a video of me, I was very animated watching those picks as he wasn't being picked. Then we traded up. We had our shot at him. Like, it was right there. We could have taken him if we wanted to. But I'm happy about the pick. I really am. You got to protect Kenny franchise. Guy's a plug-and-play starter. No sacks last year. I don't know how you can really be upset about the pick. SEC played against the best competition, NFL competition. Like, there really no off-the-field issues. He's 6'6" almost. There's really nothing. I don't understand the people that are upset about it. It's probably because fans, in my experience, they get upset because they dig their heels in the sand and they get their minds fixated on one or two particular players. And then when they don't get them, it's all ho hum bagum.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this. If we'd have taken Darnell Wright at 17, don't trade up, people would have complained. If we'd have taken Paris Johnson and had to trade up at 9, people would have complained. If we took Skoronski, people would have complained. It didn't matter which one we took. The other ones were always going to be the one we should have taken. I'm very happy with Broderick Jones. I'm very happy with the pick.
Yeah, I am too. Let me continue on, because actually that's where I wanted to kind of jump to, because with the rest of this board, right before the Steelers make this swap at 14 with the New England Patriots. Let's see here. So Skoronski, oh, by the way, the Titans, they signed, Andre Dillard, and he's already a left tackle, and then they already have a right tackle that they had drafted last year, I think 3rd round, higher than a top 100 pick. So where do you think Skoronski is going to play? That's going to be interesting to watch. That's kind of the point of when you get to Broderick Jones here. We're talking about left tackle. Is that the need the Steelers have? Now, there was some chatter about, well, he could compete with a core 4 or more. That might be true. They might test that out. But let's be honest here. Who's the real weak link that we're looking at here? Probably Dan Moore, right? You're looking at a left tackle. You're looking at a guy who's been playing left tackle, not a guy has his success, Darnell Wright, on the right tackle, or Skoronski, a guy. They said it. I was listening to, I don't know which feed you guys were on. I had all 3 going, but I had the audio going for ABC, which is interesting because it's ABC and ESPN, same company. But there's 2 different crews, and they actually don't even use the same highlight clips between the 2, which is crazy. You're watching them, and it's not like you're watching the same thing on all 3 screens. But I'm not sure who said it. Might have been Kirk Herbstreit, or somebody that was on there. And they had mentioned that if Skoronski plays guard, they feel he'd be a Hall of Fame level guard. I mean, this guy hasn't taken a snap yet in the NFL. I really hate hearing stuff like that, but it really looks like that's where it's going. So when you look at it in that aspect, Broderick Jones is the next left tackle. Now let's see who ends up drafting next before the Steelers with this whole thing with the trade. So Skoronski, Jahmyr Gibbs to the Detroit Lions, 12th overall. That was surprising to me. Lucas Van Ness to the Green Bay Packers, 13. Then the Steelers make the trade with New England. 15, New York Jets, Will McDonald, which the professor, who might be joining us tomorrow, Brian, Zach Mickler. Yeah. I wasn't sure, because I got to see if the Flash is going to be around. I heard he was going to be on a bender. So
I go to the Stage AE draft party, dude.
That's right.
Oh, you're going to be at the draft party?
Yeah, you're out of commission. You're out of commission.
You're going to be there?
Unless you're back early.
Yeah, me and my buddy are going, and his dad.
Nice.
So we'll figure out a way to get 4 windows up. Maybe we'll crash. We'll break this thing like your the PFF mock draft simulator, Brian.
I can go live from the party.
Oh, there you go. Hey, I'll retweet that. So Will McDonald, Iowa State, goes to the Jets at 15. Commanders take Emmanuel Forbes. I was like, whoa.
I was surprised by that.
Yes.
Not that I think Emmanuel Forbes is bad, but man, that felt early, considering who they didn't take, right?
Yes.
I mean, Banks is there, Porter's there, and you jump to Forbes. Yeah.
You know what I think? I think that's Sauce Gardner effect, because Sauce Gardner is a really slim dude. His weight was a big concern, and he got Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I think it's a domino effect and a copycat kind of thing, where maybe if he doesn't have such a good rookie season, they're not comfortable taking Forbes in the first round because he's 166, soaking wet. That's a real frail frame to play in the NFL. But I think maybe because of Sauce Gardner's success last year, they thought, oh, well, he could do it. So.
Yeah, so the reason I bring this up, and speaking of the Yinzers and the hot takes and everything else, let's bring up our boy Andrew Filipponi from The Fan in Pittsburgh. What would you have done? Traded up for Broderick Jones, give up a fourth, or stayed at 17 and picked Christian Gonzalez and kept fourth? I think this is a really bad take because I don't think either of them, Jones or Gonzalez, last to 17 if the Steelers don't make that move. The Steelers are on the phone. Omar Khan, slick guy as he is, Bill Belichick, hey, do you really want the Jets to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers? No. So we're not looking at taking corner. They're not going to take a corner either because they have Sauce Gardner. One of your guys is going to be there in a couple of picks. Why don't you, we'll give you 120 and we'll do this. Okay, deal. So they move up, they get Jones because the Jets were looking at a tackle. There's
absolutely
very much question marks as to whether or not they would take him. Professor said that was a panic pick for McDonald, by the way. That was his opinion. And Gonzalez would have just went to the Patriots at 14, I think. Could have also
Every
went to
reaction has an immediate reaction, especially with the draft. So to get upset about like, oh, well, they could have just stayed there and taken this guy. If the trade is like more than 2 picks apart, you have no idea what's going to happen there. And the Steelers, boom, 3 picks apart, 17 to 14. So you really don't know what was going to happen there. This guy was going to be available or that guy was, because you're right. When the team picks a certain guy, things change.
Correct, Mundo. And that's just one of the big things. So we'll talk about the rest of the draft board here maybe in a moment. Let's talk about Broderick Jones. We were already talking about some of the big things with him. One of the ones that we pulled up, Mike DeFabo. Sorry, Mike, don't know. Just look him up. It's on the screen here, at Mike DeFabo. It's too late to be figuring this stuff out. 32 games at Georgia, 19 starts. Broderick Jones had exactly 0 holding penalties, only 1 false start. So disciplined football from him. We had the RAS score somewhere here. I know I just sent it to you a little bit ago there.
That stands for really athletic score.
Yes. Does it? It's something like that, but there it is.
I'll buy that.
Relative athletic score. But yeah.
Nice.
Was that really just a guess?
3.
Hey, if we get 2 out of 3 here in the top 50, Steelers will be doing good too. So just keep it going. 9.57. This is at Math Bomb. They always put out these really cool numbers and statistics. So from 1987 to current time, 1,294 offensive tackles graded. Broderick Jones ranks 56th out of nearly 1,300 offensive tackles since they've been doing this, or at least as far back as they go with this, as far as athletic traits. And if you see that,
pretty good.
Look at that speed grade for an offensive tackle, considered elite. There. Size is okay. We can work on size, though. Height, you can't really work on. Weight, we can work on. And explosion, good. Vertical, broad jump. But
how tall is he listed at? Because I thought that he was listed at like 6'5" and a half.
I could find out in a second here because
that's not like exactly short for a tackle. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so at all.
Basically,
I mean,
6'6".
You might like some. Mike Tomlin might like some of his mountain men. But where's it at? Yeah, 6'5", 311. So,
So, I mean, like, with cleats on, that's 6'6".
That works enough. Yes.
There you go.
So, what was I going to say here? Coming back around to this. So that was one of the statistics. I think you mentioned already, Zach, and forgive me if I'm repeating it again, but he did not allow, Broderick Jones did, a single sack and 445 pass blocks and pass protection last season. 0
sacks, 0 penalties. Like, is that good? I'm not an offensive lineman guy, but is that good? 0 sacks, 0 penalties.
Yeah.
I would figure, yeah.
I mean, you've got
high quality offensive tackle play there.
High quality analysis here too.
Yes, very good.
So yeah, you know what? I was on the Gonzalez train because I really feel that he's a great talent, and I knew Belichick wasn't going to let him go. That just feels like one of their moves. They need like somebody that can play like elite corner play. But we talked about this all the way through the process. Like, which position do they pass on? Can they boomerang back around to the other? So which one can they let go and come back to? And we felt the corner class was a little bit deeper, even though I mocked Joey Porter in my first mock draft. I mocked Skoronski just because I thought maybe he might fall due to the same reasons. Kenny Pickett, small hands, things like that. I just wasn't. These mock drafts, of course, they're stupid to begin with, but we're using them. We're counting on people that are supposed to be smarter than us to create these big boards. And Broderick Jones just wasn't there, but I also made mention in the article, and just I'm patting myself on the back here, right? And it's like, well, if Broderick Jones slips, okay then. But we look at the rest of the NFL draft here, right? And we'll talk about how Jones. Well, let's talk about Jones one more second before we get back to this. Brian, I'll kick it over to you first, my friend. Do we see Jones as a week 1 starter, either side on the offensive line? I don't think they draft him to not be an eventual starter, and I don't think offensive line is a position where you want to plug somebody in 6 weeks in, like, you know, Kenny and the Jets or something like that.
I'm going to tell you, he's going to have the opportunity to take Dan Moore's job. I think that's where he's going to be targeted. And then it's going to be a battle to determine who ends up being the right tackle, and who ends up being depth. Or, you know, maybe, you know, once somebody moves. But I think that they needed tackle depth anyway. So,
yep. What do you think, Zach? I think the same way as Brian here. He gets to compete for the. I don't know that he's necessarily as a rookie handed it, but it's going to be almost handed.
Yeah, Brian nails it. He does a great job for once. But I really do think that he'll start by week 1 because they traded up for him, number 1. And his talent level already, like even without seeing camp competition, is probably about there, if not better, of Dan Moore's at a level. So I feel confident in playing him right away. I called him a plug-and-play guy in talking about him in the past, about how basically the top 3 tackles in this draft I thought were all plug-and-play, and arguably Skoronski too, if you want to call him a tackle. So, yeah, I think he plays right away. I don't think there's much of a point in waiting to play him unless he has a setback or not a good preseason or camp, which I don't see happening. Maybe if they didn't trade up for him, I would understand or hear an argument that, well, he has to earn it, or maybe they won't rush him out there. I think they're going to put him out there right away, and I think it's for the better of the team, honestly. So I'm excited for them to do that too, because at the end of the day, all I've been saying with this draft, and usually most of the drafts, but this year for sure, I've said with the first 2 to 3 picks, 4 if we're lucky, I just want them to play and contribute as rookies a lot, you know, and that assumably, that's not a word, but it presumably means that the first and second round pick will start and the third guy will get a lot of time. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I think they're getting right now with their first round pick checked off the board. Is Jones should start right away, and that'll help them get the ball rolling with their next pick, and hopefully that guy contributes in a heavy fashion too.
For once, look, I give you nothing but love, and I get this vitriol. What the hell? For once, dog.
Hey, we got to think the vitriol.
I'm messing with you, Zach.
I hear what you say when I'm not around, man.
It's not true.
Hey, Brian was actually listening to the last few shows, so we have to be careful now. Got to be careful what we say. Yeah,
I've never said anything.
I always say good things about you because I love you, my brother.
Oh, geez. Somebody named after a great Steelers quarterback just made a great take here. Mark Malone is the guy that Kendrick Green of left tackles. No. Are you nuts? Kendrick Green was a 3rd round pick. They were hoping they could shoehorn in, as they've done in the past, taking somebody that's a guard, that's an athletic guard, and maybe smaller than some other centers, and they can make him like a pulling center. And it didn't work out. Just what wasn't to be. He's not a guard either in the NFL.
And butterfly effect. I think that led
comment
to
is
the discussions about drafting a guy early for offensive line instead of relying on Dan Moore and Kendrick Green, 3rd and 4th round pick.
Absolutely.
That may have been brought up in discussions before this draft went down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say that is a comment worthy of the name Mark Malone.
I'm really sorry if your parents named you after him.
That guy said it had a girly voice.
So
who said that?
Mark Malone. He said it had a girly voice.
Yeah, said that. I said that. Well, we should maybe because it was like I don't know. That's a pretty. I don't know. I don't like the comment right now. We only serve positive vibes here, sir. So
it's great for singing. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, again, you like this comment, Zach. I don't know who I said it with. It might have been with Brian. Kyle Brandt said it the other day. Yeah, up to 69 live viewers. Nice. Right on the money. I know some people went to bed and everyone will catch it in the morning after it's gone through its process. But Kyle Brandt had said on Good Morning Football, the NFL draft is like a scratch-off ticket. It is a lottery. It's not always going to be a winner. That's just the way it is. You think, you're like, oh, you know what? This one has the Monopoly guy on it. I'm going to put my couple dollars in and get this because this looks cool and I think I could win because if I get 3 gift boxes that match, then I win like $500. Well, it doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately. So, but Broderick Jones, 930 snaps at left tackle last year and 428 in 2021. He has paltry 9 in 25, so just under 40 snaps playing right tackle in his career. But you know what? You got the raw talent that's there, and if you're thinking you need an upgrade, this I think this was worth anything that you may have gotten with the. I don't like to poo-poo too much on the 4th round picks. The Steelers tend to find some value there. Sometimes we'll see if Calvin Austin happens to be value, but look at some of the past ones. Dan Moore. Where was Gerald Hawkins taken? Was he a 4 also? I mean, he might have been.
He was.
Just Shamarko Thomas. Durant Grant.
Oh God.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs. I mean, we've got some, and then you got Cam Sutton maybe he was the comp pick or James Conner was. So somebody was like a late 3.
They both were thirds. Conner was comp pick.
Yeah.
Was it Martavius? Was it Martavius?
Yeah,
Martavius
was. Yes.
Yeah.
So
420.
Yeah. So you're taking gambles. You're taking gambles. If you're going to take a gamble, so who do you take then? At 17, if Gonzalez and Jones are then gone, because I'm sold on the fact that Gonzalez would have went to the Patriots, Jones would have went to the Jets. Jets were
what else too I picked up on was that no other tackle went till pick 27. So there were 13 picks in between when we picked Broderick Jones and the Jacksonville Jaguars picked Anton Harrison. So that tells you there was a clear drop off in the top 3 tackles in the rest of the class, because if there was a 4th guy, or 5th, depending on Skoronski. If there was a 4th guy who was viewed as a top guy, he would have went shortly after Broderick Jones. Wasn't the case. So another indicator that the Steelers made the right call going up and getting, you could say, an elite tackle in this draft.
Yeah, and they still have a chance to maybe pick up an elite corner, where we'll talk about who else ended up going, because right after Gonzalez at 17, where the Steelers were originally slated, New England Patriots, Christian Gonzalez, corner, Oregon. We thought maybe he'd be the top corner in this class, but hey, even Emmanuel Forbes went ahead. So it's interesting to see how teams evaluate different players especially for needs. It's not a blanket statement. Maybe Forbes is a better fit for Washington and what they're looking to do with their defense. But I was I know it might be Captain Obvious that the Steelers needed to get ahead of the Jets, but not for everyone. That's why we're mentioning it here. There's a guy on Pittsburgh local radio, 93.7 The Fan, that doesn't get it, okay? And I'm sure several of his colleagues don't either. So we have to spell it out for some of the folks who broaden their horizons and just don't listen to us. We know there's a lot of smart 2%ers that listen to us out there. So where was I at? Jack Campbell to the Detroit Lions.
Don't hurt me.
I had that sick feeling. I had that sick feeling, though, man. I had that sick feeling that he can go late. I thought Buffalo, man. I really did.
So did I.
Yeah. I was really. I was
people
concerned.
in Pittsburgh would have been pissed if he was the 1st round pick, dude. You know that.
Oh, no. I didn't want him at 17. No question about that. Let's be clear. Jack Campbell was my 32 or my 49, 100% of the time. And
if they don't trade 49, I have that pegged for maybe Trenton Simpson or one of those guys.
And if he were there, but I feel like I was surprised he went as early as he did. Like,
absolutely,
I love the guy, but I did not see him. Actually, I didn't see him even being a first round pick.
That's such a Dan Campbell pick, though. Campbell.
Yeah. I mean, I was look, were they related?
Yeah, right. It's probably his kid.
Nepotism.
Yeah. Hey. I know, and it's like right after where the Steelers would pick, like Christian Gonzalez, boom, Jack Campbell. It's like, double, like they're punching both of your nads. Like, got the left one, now got the right one, ball tap. So Kalijah Cansey, 19th. I'm like, is this where Will Levis drops? And everyone was kind of thinking, and it's like, nope, they went with a defensive tackle. So yeah, Jack Campbell would have looked good. Someone's mentioning that.
That's
by the way,
steal, I think Cansey's going to be a good ball player.
Yeah, Mark Malone's laughing, so he ggets a joke. So good, thank you for being a good spirit. Then the run on wide receivers. Jackson Smith and Jigba was still there to the Seahawks at 20. Quentin Johnson, 21st overall to the Los Angeles Chargers. Zay Flowers, 22nd to the Baltimore Ravens, who just officially blew the future of their entire salary cap on a one Lamar Jackson. Unless they structure it like Jalen Hurts with a void year at the end that's $96 million dead cap hit.
Well, what was the guaranteed number that came out? Like 180 something?
185, I think.
Yeah.
For Lamar, I didn't see the full thing, but wasn't it like 260 overall?
260 overall, but like 185 guaranteed.
Yeah. So they're going to give him weapons. Maybe the new OC. Maybe he could throw the ball to them. I don't know. They're going to need somebody. I don't think Odell plays a full 17 game schedule. And the Ravens are like the Steelers in many ways. Steelers can't draft corners, and the Ravens can't draft wide receivers. You could name a long list of them that have like washed out. And here we are again. And I hate to say it because I do like Zay Flowers. I like Zay Flowers a lot. We'll see what happens. Jordan Addison, the other darling, over to the Vikings. Man, the Vikings got a good one. The pair with Justin Jefferson, that looked good. Giants surprises. They go and they make a swap with the Jacksonville Jaguars for Maryland's Deonte Banks, who a lot of us also mocked to the Steelers, but we even maybe had Banks at 17 originally here in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
So Dalton Kincaid goes to the Bills. That was a pretty cool pick. I like that for them.
I like it because it screwed the Cowboys.
Not only screws the Cowboys, but a tight end off the board means another corner just slides closer to 32. Yep. Keep on drifting down there, fellas. Mozzie Smith to the Cowboys. Looked like Jerry Jones and them. They were having the same kind of like F kind of reaction.
I thought they would take Michael Mayer because he looks like Jason Witten.
Just based, yeah. That's sound logic though. Like
they're the same kind of player.
Yeah. So I just somebody's like the Ratbirds mortgage the future. Boy, did they ever. They can't afford anybody, but they still have draft picks. They didn't give that up, but quarterbacks are really costing a lot of money anymore. This is where I was kind of surprised. I had Anton Harrison as my guy. If I went with corner in the first round or went anywhere else, Anton Harrison was almost definitely my pick 32. Kind of like Brian, how you were putting Jack Campbell in that category. I had Campbell maybe 32 or 49 also, or maybe an inside linebacker. So Anton Harrison would not have made it here. We'd be standing here or sitting here tonight had they taken somebody else, which we probably would have been happy with. But now where's your need? Like, what offensive tackle are you going to get? It's not DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones is not who you want, and then the rest of them are kind of probably guys that they might get drafted, but it's not. I don't know that somebody now that you're talking about, are they going to compete for the job?
It's the same guy, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you take another tackle in the fourth round, you've already got that guy. So this is a step up. I mean, taking a tackle in the first round is a change of perspective for this franchise. They don't do that, and that's the Omar Khan, Andy Weidel impact, I think, and maybe a change of philosophy. If you stick to the old school, then why would you even bother? I mean, you already got Dan Moore. You're going to draft another Dan Moore. You might find somebody. Bergeron might be good, but Bergeron also got his butt kicked by a bunch of other guys. So I don't know. This is a good call, I think, on their part. It's just a different caliber of player. Doesn't mean he pans out. but his athleticism is much greater than anybody we've had at that position in a long time. Maybe ever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And to say, and you know, this isn't even like, I think Dan Moore's played at a pretty higher level than a fourth rounder or somebody of his draft pedigree has. So it was actually a potential. We mentioned Gerald Hawkins. You know what I mean? There's a guy that was probably never going to see the field for the Steelers. He even came back around after trading him, and he bounced around to the Texans and the Buccaneers, and then came back to Pittsburgh and didn't end up keeping a job. So. Yeah. You know, that's kind of what you're looking at in some cases. I mean, that's how it falls sometimes. Rounding out.
Well, it's all fixed now, so.
Yeah. Let's see. Rounding out the rest of this draft, you had the Bengals with Myles Murphy, defensive end out of Clemson. New Orleans Saints, Brian Breesy, out of also from Clemson. And then the Eagles took Nolan Smith, edge rusher from Georgia. And also another potential edge rusher, Kansas City Chiefs at the end of this draft, Felix Anadike Uzoma. Stuck the landing, man. So at least,
absolutely.
You know, I had these nightmares, all these sleeps before the draft, but I was having nightmares that the Chiefs were going to break my heart at 31 and leave us hanging. But there's a lot that's sitting there. What do you think, though? You're looking across the AFC North at Myles Murphy. I mean, I was kind of wondering where the Bengals may end up going in this draft. I wasn't entirely sold on who they might have felt was their bigger need, but they may have gotten like a top 5 guy that's going to be outside linebacker. And I'm also kind of thinking the way that the Mike Smith and the family in that role operate the team with the Cincinnati Bengals. They've been not as stingy with money, but Joe Burrow is going to be coming around to a contract soon. I don't think they're going to give money to Trey Hendrickson. Somebody's going to be out the door there, or Sam Hubbard.
Higgins.
So, yeah. Well, yep. Higgins too. There's no way they could afford 2 guys of that caliber. Like, they've already got Tyler Boyd being paid a pretty good sum of money for now as a veteran. He's not going to get another contract like he did already, and they're not going to be able to afford both Chase and Higgins and give a bag to like Hendrickson and Burrow and everybody else. It's already starting to kind of domino effect with the way we weren't able to keep Bell or Bates. So, but they didn't go safety, they didn't go after Brian Branch, and that's kind of where we're headed back around. But I just wanted to point out some AFC North news, because you got to always be talking about what your opponents are bringing your way. So if they're going to add...
Speaking of which,
go ahead.
I feel like there's a team we didn't talk about. Oh, well, that's right, because they don't have any picks left. Never mind.
Do they even have a pick
I was just
tomorrow?
sitting here thinking, like, who'd the Browns take? And I was like, oh, yeah, nobody.
I was making a joke. There were people that were talking about, like, why don't they do the draft in Pittsburgh? And it's like, well, it'll come around. And it's like, well, they had it in Cleveland. And it's like, well, they're lucky they had it in Cleveland while they still had picks. That would have been kind of embarrassing. You would have had
they host and have no first round pick.
You would have had like I knew the Macho Man guy. I've told you that before. It was somebody's brother that I knew. I knew his sister, and he was like the Macho fan, and he would have been like naming like the Texans pick, but whoever they traded the pick to instead. Browns do not pick until 74, so you can be patient and watch as the Steelers continually make picks in front of you and make better decisions with their franchise. That's okay. I will throw the shade. I love to throw the shade, but I was saying Broderick Jones, though. Like, okay, Myles Murphy might be a reaction to Broderick Jones. You know what I mean? How would you feel if the Bengals take Myles Murphy and they already have Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard and company, and you didn't take a tackle yet, and now all of a sudden you're panicking because it's like, oh man, this team that's already there, twice in the AFC Championship the last 2 years, back to back. Now they're going to add more pass rushers to come after a second-year pro and Kenny Pickett. So I feel a lot better with that Broderick Jones pick than maybe some other people would. You got to kind of think outside the box here. But, fellas, best on the board left. Who's the pick tomorrow before we go? I'm going to tell you the thought before we get into the rest of the list, but the chat has been Joey Porter Jr. the entire way here.
Kidding.
Yeah,
No,
it's just scrolling. Yeah, just scrolling. Bunch of homers.
Well, I'm not gonna push any shame. I'm of that crowd. I am. Joey Porter Jr. is at the top of my list. I really think that it's gonna be hard for them to pass on him at this point. I thought that certainly almost. You could ask me yesterday what I thought they were going to do with 32, and reluctantly, I would have told you I thought they're going to move back based off of what Tomlin has hinted at and based off of what Omar Khan has said. Omar Khan said the other day during the standard video they do on YouTube, we can do some pretty cool things with pick 32. Like, what exactly does that mean, man? And Tomlin was like bullish talking about the pick the other day to the media. So I felt like they were going to trade that pick, but given the circumstance now with Porter Jr. on the board, it might be too hard for them to pass him up. If they don't take him, I think Darnell Washington is a possibility, and that may piss some people off, but they did have him in for a top 30 visit. And this would be, I mean, one tight end has gone so far. The next is projected to be either him, Mayer, or possibly Laporta from Iowa. And of that group, we had Washington in for a visit. So I have my eyes on him a bit. I know, Joe, he was in your mock draft. So I know you as well are probably watching out for him.
Brian too. We like him. He said he's another tackle.
He's a tackle.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to
he is. He's the next tackle.
It'd be hard to be upset about that pick, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it would help in the run game and the pass game. And
yeah.
I also have center written down, any center, because all the top centers are available still. And I like Mason Cole. I really do, actually, probably more than most people do. But if they can get the top center in the draft or the second best center in the draft, why not? Why not just build the Great Wall of China for Kenny Pickett? Like, go all in on the picket fence. If you're going to go tackle, go center too. Tyreek Stevenson is still available, the Miami corner. Julius Brents, the Kansas State corner. Brian Branch, the Alabama safety, and Keely Ringo, the Georgia corner. That's my short list of, like, if you want to call it short, of players that I think are left that have a realistic possibility of being the pick at 32, or if they decide to bump back a couple spots, they could probably get a handful of those names still too.
Yeah, I don't mind the bump back idea, but it's got to be like 36 to 40 or something in that range. They can't wait.
Yeah, don't go farther than 40.
No, all those guys are gone by 49, I think.
Yeah.
The thing that I keep wondering about is, and Zach, you're absolutely right. I think that they are in a unique position, and that they knew they were in a unique position with having 32, something that they're not used to. There's going to be demand. There's going to be options. But I don't think in a million years they thought Porter was going to be there at 32.
Absolutely.
I just don't think that they ever anticipated that happening.
I
didn't. No, neither did I.
No.
And even as many times as the PFF simulator broke and gave me people like Joey Porter Jr. there, or Christian Gonzalez, or
in the 7th round.
Yeah, in the 7th round. As many times as that happened, I still didn't actually believe this would ever occur. So, I think you said it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be doubly hard. Somebody's now going to have to make them a deal that they, made me an offer I can't refuse, Yeah, there you go. It's going to have to be something. There you go. Yeah, see, look at that. Christian Gonzalez at 32.
We can keep going, too. Well, you took him in the first round so you could get Jackson Smith and Jigba and then Nolan Smith and
when I was
Sam
talking
Laporta
about the other day, like, I think that was 2 days ago, I was doing them rapid fire at my day job. I was like, I had the one after I did like 4 in a row. The one gave me Gonzalez, and then I think I got Tyree Wilson at 32. I was like, okay, this is going off the rails already. This is so unrealistic. So I just shut it down at that point.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. I mean, sometimes I just shut it down when I don't like that it doesn't work the way I want it to, which is completely different. Now, this is baloney. Like, I can't do it. Brian, you had a bunch of those screenshots like that, though. You had about like 6 of them.
Every time I did it, I was like, what, everybody? Okay, the heck with it. Will Anderson Jr. was available at 32 7 times.
That's it's insanity. I mean,
that's not.
No, it doesn't work. So
Nolan Smith went pretty late.
Went pretty late. I mean, it's always funny. I don't think there was too many. I think Jack Campbell was probably the biggest unexpected, and maybe Emmanuel Forbes. I think you're right. Maybe the Steelers didn't realize or didn't think that Joey Porter Jr. would be there at 32. But then again, it's like we were talking about, there was somebody that I forgot who it was that tweeted out, well, the Steelers are pretty smart. They only had players visit who they felt would fit in their range, and all these players. Like, is this your first year following this? This is like, you know what I mean? It's not like they brought in Joe Burrow for a visit or something like that. You know what I mean? Penei Sewell or something, you know, a few years ago, top tackles. Like, they stay within their range for the most part. They have a feel of, maybe there's a dozen guys that are going to be nowhere near that we could sniff. And it just, I don't know. That was just kind of ridiculous if you ask me. Do I think Joey Porter? Man, I think it'd be disappointing for him and his dad and family and stuff if he wasn't taken at 32. And if they don't take him at 32, I don't think he'll be there at 49. I think it could be a corner. I know you were talking Tyreek Stevenson. Can he last a little longer if they go in a different direction? Are there any defensive linemen that are sitting around there?
I just want to say Tyreek Stevenson is like my last choice on my list.
Okay.
Like
okay.
I'm aware to the interest in him, but I have a late second, early third grade on him, if you want to call it that. I wouldn't be thrilled if he was a 32nd pick. I'm more so looking for that to be Porter, a center, Branch, Ringo. But
Branch sounds good to me. Branch or Porter.
Yeah, Branch
really
would be good. That's if they don't take Porter and they want to trade back, they could probably get Branch a couple picks later. It's up to them and how they view Porter. Honestly, that's what I mean. It's such a tough call, and it's such a unique call because number one, having the 32nd pick is new to the Steelers, and now you're sitting there faced with a position of need, and it's one of your all-time players' kids who's good. You know, it's like such a rare thing happening before our eyes. So that's what throws it off. I really thought if Porter Jr. wasn't there, I would put all my money on them trading back. But he's the one thing that's making me think they might actually stay put and just make that pick.
Yeah. And somebody was just mentioning too about the Bengals. Didn't they draft some safeties? Yeah. Dax Hill, where they were trying to figure out if what position Dax Hill is actually going to end up playing in the NFL. He was a little.
I liked him coming out, but he didn't do much last year.
Yeah, he's a little position agnostic. Well, it's because of Bates and Bell that were out there, but the other guy was like a 5th rounder, and then they signed somebody that wasn't a Nick Scott, not necessarily the biggest free agent name from the Rams. So they're still. They're probably still in the market for somebody that's in that secondary. You got to look around and see who else might be drafting around you or before you. I think the Bengals are further around the clock unless they move up. Center's kind of an interesting one. Can you wait on that? There's a Steve Avila. Mason Cole, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, Mason Cole was more than adequate at times. He was graded out pretty high and had a pretty high performance. I didn't see a whole lot of mistakes or penalties, or I didn't see him getting pancaked like Kendrick Green.
Serviceable.
Yeah.
Serviceable.
Yeah. Maybe even more than serviceable. It's not
considering all the centers are available. Maybe I should pull back on that.
Yeah.
The 32nd pick, but they could probably still get like a top 3-1 at 49 if they still have the 49th pick. So that's something I'm newly open to. I'm a Mason Cole fan, but I've only recently began to think maybe they do upgrade center given how the board has fallen and they're all still there right now.
It begs the question, too. We were talking in the back rooms. Who's the backup center right now? Yeah. You look at down, can James Daniels play center? Maybe in a pinch. I'm forgetting this. So there's some other like journeyman guy that's not Hassenauer because he signed somewhere else this offseason. So they don't really, they could always maybe get an undrafted guy, but geez, that could be rough in the event of injury. There's not much left in old Mother Hubbard's cupboards. So let's see. We were talking about, I don't know. I just like for the edge rushers that may be on the board. I think that would kind of surprise me. I am kind of on the Joey Porter train here. Even if you move back a few spots, you could probably still land him if somebody's like Will Levis hungry or they're looking for another player that fell off here in the first round or didn't make it into the first round. I'm just stretching my brain to think if there's anything.
Do you have the board?
Be there.
You have the board sitting there?
I have, let's see. Well, I have the picks. Let me see. Draft tracker. Who do you want to see, or you just want to see overall?
I just want to see who's right behind us because I don't remember the order. Because
the absolute order. Oh, of course, Arizona Cardinals, by virtue of the trade with the Houston Texans, are now
they could take Joey Porter.
Right behind Lions as well.
They could take Joey Porter.
Yeah,
you either take him or he's gone.
Yeah, at that point, because both those teams were projecting corners in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right. It is risky.
They could still trade back. I still think they're going to trade back at some point because I can't imagine they're not. They love 5th-round picks. They don't have any. So they're going to fix that at some point. They may not do it at 32 because of the Joey Porter factor, but they may still do it at 49 or 80.
Yeah, 4th, 5th, or 6th. So
yeah, that's wild. They have to do something there.
Yeah. Mark, not anymore. Not saying anymore tonight. Some people don't like, somebody's thinking maybe Nate Herbig could play as a backup center. Possibly.
I was wondering if Herbig was one and that could maybe fill in.
Yeah, we really don't know. We just know it's not going to be Kendrick Green.
No, it's not.
don't. It's very often that not very often that I have a whole lot of anything bad to say when it comes to certain players, but unfortunately, like he just doesn't fit the bill, man. I don't know how else to say it.
Just got tired of seeing him on his butt.
Yeah, far too often, and I made enough excuses for the dude over time. Right behind the Steelers, Colts, Rams. Rams get the pick. They haven't picked first round pick.
Well, they'll probably trade it.
Yeah, 7 years. 7. Can you imagine 7 years without a first round pick? That is, I mean, the Browns will be there soon enough, but that's about it, man. I can't rationalize with it. Seahawks, Raiders, Panthers, Saints, Titans, Packers of 42, Jets, Falcons, Packers again, Patriots, Commanders, Lions again, then the Steelers. Between those two picks, that's a whole lot of risk if you're not going to take a corner. And the reason I'm only thinking corner, it's not just because it's, Porter Jr. Wallace and Witherspoon, last year of a contract. You don't absolutely have to rush and put somebody in there. But Patrick Peterson is going to be 33 years old? What if Witherspoon has been healthy the last 2 years. He usually misses a couple of games here or there. Wallace got knocked out. If any of these guys end up in like a concussion protocol, you're kind of in deep shit, for lack of a better term. You're going to have to put James Pierre back out there and hope that he's a big play Pierre and not giving up big play Pierre. He's an undrafted guy. Great for him. Plays special teams real well. He's earned a roster spot over the years, but he's not Darrelle Revis. He's not an island. And Wallace really isn't an island either. And is Peterson still going to be able to play to this premium level? Or do you bring in a guy that's, for many people feel would be like a first round pick with Porter? I think it's got to be, or it's got to be Branch. Branch could also help in the secondary as well. We're hoping KZ is fully healthy. I can't count on Keanu O'Neal as depth. And you got Trey Norwood and Miles Killebrew. And I don't know what happened to Norwood. Norwood didn't look like a 7th-round pick. Is this your quote, Zach? And then he did look like a 7th-round pick. There was somebody that said something like that. So
sounds right. Yeah, I can't remember because he had a real, I hate saying a fall off, but he didn't have as good of a second season as he did as a rookie, Trey Norwood. And I think you could add on Julius Brents and Keely Ringo to that conversation as well. If they're not able to get Porter or Branch, Ringo and Brents bring something to the table where they would kind of fall into a perfect situation in Pittsburgh, where a lot of people agree that neither of those guys should be starting week 1, but they're both physical specimens with immensely high ceilings. Ringo was a top 5 high school recruit, runs a 4.3, 6.2, freakish speed and quick twitch, playing cornerback for you from Georgia. And then Julius Brents is 6'3", also runs a 4.3. These guys had first round projections at one point during the pre-draft process. They're both still there. So if Porter and Branch both go, those two guys kind of fit the bill as well as guys that they can bring in and not have to thrust out there right away and play all the snaps, but eventually as a rookie get playing time.
Yeah. Who was all left in the green room? You had Porter was left. Levis.
Porter,
Keon
Levi
White.
Strauss, Keon White.
Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer.
Yeah. So those are 4 guys that should go early. They could all be
Of those
targets.
4, well, the only one that the Steelers are going to pick is Joey Porter.
Yeah, I would think not White. They're not going to take Will Levis. We took him in the 3rd or the 4th.
In the 3rd round, that's different.
And we also had like 50 picks.
Top 30 visits are important at this point. Very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joey Porter was unofficial, but he was here.
Yeah, and he would have been local too, I believe. Anyways, he wouldn't have counted.
Hell, he grew up here.
That's it.
They've seen him a million times.
Yeah,
right?
He's born in a terrible towel. So made me forget what I was going to say. Darnell Washington was a visit too, and he was a late change. Late
exactly.
change.
Every guy on my list, I'm pretty sure, was a visit here.
Yeah. So some of the best available that we haven't mentioned. I did say something about Keon White. Joe Tippmann. I'm not seeing it as far as the offensive lineman. I said Steve Avila earlier. BJ Ojulari, Luke Musgrave, another tight end, Cody Mock, Keanu Benton. And I really love Keanu Benton, but I want Keanu Benton not with 32. It would be really nice to see how, to me, he feels like kind of like a Javon Hargrave type of guy that could be moved around the line. They could use somebody that could play right on the nose, unless they put Ogunjobi there. Which is always possible too if they shift some things around. So I wouldn't rule out maybe a defensive lineman. Jalen Hyatt, another wide receiver. I don't see them adding a wide receiver based on everything. Miles Boykin was just re-signed. It seems like the room is rather crowded.
End of an era.
The Robinson, yeah.
I see them adding one late.
Seventh rounder, but might be a
maybe
practice
5th
squad guy.
or 6th. I think Jaden Reed. Keep your eyes peeled for Jaden Reed.
They got to get a 5th or 6th round pick or a 4th round pick, like any of those rounds. I think they will too. By hook or by crook, they'll find a way to get back in there. This is Omar freaking Khan we're talking about here, right? So Trenton Simpson, you had mentioned, Sam Laporta, Hendon Hooker, Keely Ringo, John Michael Schmitz. And the UCLA running back. I'm too tired to try and figure out his name. So that's among some of them. There's, of course, Jonathan Mingo, Matt Bergeron, DeJuan Jones, Tyreek Stevenson, Cedric Tillman, Marvin Mims, Josh Downs. We were talking about that. DJ Turner.
I like him too.
Drew Sanders and Dion Henley. There are some of the names that are in there to me. Oh, and of course, Nate Herbig's brother, another linebacker, Nick Herbig. If you want to talk about the family bloodlines and ties, may as well throw him in there since Big Brother is already signed with the Steelers during the off season. So, gentlemen, any closing thoughts?
It's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can happen tomorrow. They're going to get a good player, a second good player. They're going to get a third good player tomorrow. And, maybe even a 4th. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's just, unknown territory for us, man.
There's someone we got a couple other names that have been thrown in here. Yeah, I didn't go all the way down the whole list. Did you say Jaden Reed earlier? Was that who it was?
Yeah, Jaden Reed was a top 30 visit. Jaden Reed and Charlie Jones. If they're going to take a receiver late, I think it'll be Jaden Reed or Charlie Jones because they were top 30 visits and they just fit the Steelers' MO, getting a receiver late. You never know, but I don't think they would take Mingo now or some guy. Jalen Hyatt would be super fun, but I don't think they're going to take a guy this high now. Even though I would love it as a receiver fan. I think their priorities lie elsewhere, which I agree with.
Darius Rush was a visitor too, corner out of South Carolina. Someone's mentioning
he's a good player.
I
think Luke Sanders is a good player too, the linebacker. Right? He's kind of a low-key name. Trenton Simpson is a guy I like from Clemson, but if they're looking to add a linebacker, both of those guys being still available, Simpson and Sanders, I think they have interest in both guys slightly. So there are possibilities in the rounds.
Tulane too, but not
Dorian Williams.
Dorian Williams, but not this high.
Absolutely.
I was thinking 120 for him. Now they don't have. Yeah.
Yep. Hey guys, thanks. Late night. Thank you to everyone who tuned in here live. Thank you to everyone who may be listening or watching to this on a replay. We're going to be back at it again live tomorrow night following day 2 of the NFL draft, which I believe begins. Does it begin an hour earlier tomorrow? It's
7.
Because, you've
7.
got 2 rounds of action, which is going to be going a little bit faster, and you want to be there 7 Eastern right in front of your television, wherever you may be, because the Steelers should be on the clock, but I bet you their phones are working all night here. There's going to be some interest. There's going to be some talking. But if they move back here, if they're looking corner, it might be a little risky, as we said, with having the Cardinals, Lions. Yeah, Cardinals and Lions both right behind them. So I wouldn't even rule out maybe the Colts, and that Colts need all kinds of help at this point. And,
it's a premier position, brother. Or it's a premier position, brother.
Brother, we're doing the Hulk Hogan talk now. So, Joey,
brother.
Joey Porter or bust? I don't know. I'd take Brian Branch. That's fine with me too. Folks, I'll do it for us. These fine gentlemen next to me, Mr. Brian E. Roach, well past his bedtime. He may have gotten a nap earlier. Zac Celedonia. And I saw you shaking your head over there, Brian. The 3 panels, we'll see if we've got another trifecta again tomorrow. We don't want to call it a 3-way because they serve those in Cincinnati. Where was your mind at? They were in the gutter. That was in the gutter, Brian, in the gutter. Fully.
I didn't say anything. I said it before we started recording. And by the way,
company too.
If you're gonna go and get Cincinnati chili, you get a 5-way. You don't get a 3-way. That's for wimps.
I don't do the other stuff. I don't. You're lucky I do the chili. I'm quite the picky eater. You're lucky I even partake. Hey, that's
and you put the hot sauce on. 5-way with the hot sauce. That's what you do, my friend.
I got a rare 2%er piece of commentary here because Family Feud was playing on the television on ABC, local ABC, before the draft kicked off at 8, right? And Steve Harvey, they're doing the final, whatever they call it. It's not Showcase Showdown because that's a whole other game show. But, you got to, whatever the survey says, out of 100 people, they said this. And they're doing like the lightning thing where you got one guy that comes up and then the other person on the team comes up and they rattle off the thing and you can't repeat the same answer. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hot do you like your hot sauce? And then one guy's like 8. He's like, He already said that. He was like,
I was going to say 8.
9. And it was like 6 people and 9 people. And those are just totally random numbers, by the way. Out of 100 said that. They're like, most popular answer, 1. and they start laughing. They're like, the audience here tonight does not, the survey, they do not want hot sauce at all. So
and I just bought 2 bottles of The Last Dab from Hot Ones, the wing show that's on YouTube.
Nice.
6 million on the Scoville range or something like that.
Nah, I'm sorry. I don't do that. I like to have my taste buds. I like to be able to like my food. I don't need it to like strike me like COVID where I can't taste anything and then I'm sweating out of every pore and my anus.
Look. So why you got to go there? Sweating out of your anus.
Well, that'll do it for us, folks. What a quote to leave everyone off on. Thank you, everyone. Get some rest. You can tell we're tired. We're goofy. Thank you for joining us live once again. My name's Joe Kuzma, joined by Brian E. Roach and Zac Celedonia, as we do each and every time on this show. We encourage
some direction. I don't know where that
Yeah, something over there. There's pens flying everywhere usually too. We encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we will catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.